Good morning, boys and girls. Today's lesson is I will determine the main lesson of my story and teach um, the main lesson my story will teach and come up with a story idea for your project-based learning. So your assignment is right here to complete a story organizer. Okay. I'll be following this slideshow from day one. You do not have to, if you completed day 1, 2, and 3 activities, you don't have to if you've completed this, you might not necessarily have to go back to it, but it's here for you. This is what I'll be following. Okay, so I will define a fable and identify its key elements. So yesterday we talked about fables or we watched on vocabulary. A lot of boys and girls watched. I'm also looking for you to take that quiz at the end. Some people skip the vocabulary cards or they just looked through them and didn't do the activities. That's fine if those were too difficult. Same with the read and respond, although it's super helpful in you learning the concepts of fables. That vocabulary is super important as we move forward. So we'll be talking more and more about it. Sometimes with vocabulary, it's important to watch those videos more than once. I only have a limited time with you. So some of this work, with vocabularies and things, it might be up to you to really do the work and study and learn about fables. It's not something I expect you to know previously. Okay, so we're gonna be talking today about a famous fable. Oops. Yeah. Okay. I need this one. See if it'll come up. Here we go. A famous fable called The Lion and the Mouse. Okay, so we're going to read and we're going to figure out what lesson does the lion learn and what habit would fit with that lesson. Okay, so we're going to be learning about what lesson did the lion learn and what habit that would fit with, because your fable that you're writing to support the question of what are we going to do about these kids not having access to books. Remember, we're going to write books for our kindergarten and first graders that will also teach them one of the habits. So the moral of the story needs to go with one of the 7 habits, which is actually really easy to do because any fable that you read, any example out there is going to match one of those 7 habits. Okay. So this is The Lion and the Mouse. Okay, and I'm going to try to make I think I can make this larger. Oops, no, that just flips it. Okay, so this is The Lion and the Mouse. And this one has beautiful illustrations. There's lots of versions of this story. So this is just one version of a very famous folktale fable. And it might be the book that you want to model your story after. And you might write a different version of The Lion and the Mouse. It says, the lion cubs played happily in the sunshine while their parents slept nearby. The day grew hotter and hotter, so hot that the cubs grew tired. One by one, they laid down to rest in the shade near their parents. Only one of the cubs kept on playing despite the heat. And they're so precious. When the blazing sun was at its highest, however, it was too hot even for him. So he padded over to a shady spot at the edge of the jungle and went to sleep. Suddenly, a little mouse scampered across the sleeping lion cub's paw, tickling him and waking him up. The lion cub snarled angrily. The mouse froze, too terrified to run away. I'm sorry I woke you, she said, trembling. When the lion saw that it was only a harmless little mouse, he smiled and said, Off you go, little one. I won't hurt you. Oh, thank you for sparing my life, said the mouse. One day I will repay your kindness. If you ever need help, send for me. The lion laughed out loud. I am much bigger and stronger than you, he said, and as soon I shall be even bigger and stronger. A mouse cannot help a lion. Then the lion stood up and stretched to show how big and strong he was. Proudly, he walked away. The mouse ran in the other direction. Years passed, and the cub grew into the biggest and strongest of all the lions. He was now the king of the beasts. The days were long and hot, and every day at noon the great lion would go to sleep in the shade. If the mouse happened to run by, she kept well away from the lion's paw. One day, when the lion headed for his resting spot, he fell into a trap. The more he struggled to get free, the more he entangled himself in the net. The king of the beasts was caught. He gave a mighty roar. He roared with rage. He roared with fear. Then he roared for help. The animals of the day heard his call and rushed up to him, but they couldn't help him. Night fell, and the lion was still trapped in the net. The animals of the night crept up to see the captured lion, but they couldn't help him either. Early the next morning, the mouse appeared. You called for me, she asked. I will help you as I promised I would years ago. The lion looked up at the mouse in amazement. No one can help me, he said, least of all you. The mouse started nibbling through the cords of the net. Soon, one after another. Be patient, lion, she said. Soon you will be free. Before long, the mouse had chewed a hole in the net, and the lion pushed himself through it. The lion was free. He stood before the mouse and bowed his head. Thank you, little mouse, he said. I will never again laugh at someone weaker or smaller than myself to repay your kindness. I promise I will always protect you. And so the lion and the mouse remained the best of friends until the end of their days. That's pretty pictures. Oops. I'm going to pause it here if I can get it. Let's see. Okay, so what lesson does the lion learn? So we can say, okay, the lion learned, and this is not something that you have to do. This is just something that we're doing together here on this video. Okay, the lion, I would say, the lion learned that the mouse had unique strengths and talents that he at first did not see. So even though you might not be the biggest, strongest person, you probably have unique talents and strengths that someone else doesn't see. Or maybe you're not the best, like school, you're not the top student in the class. It doesn't mean that you don't have strengths and qualities that would bring something to a partnership. And the lion really missed that about the mouse. So what happened with this is that he wasn't thinking win-win. So think win-win. This is all about thinking about what someone else in your partnership or in your group or in your class or in your family has to bring that would really help you. Because what you're thinking might be someone else's weakness is actually a strength, okay? Sometimes I think about being tall as frustrating because I hit my head on things and clothes don't fit me as well. But really, truthfully, when I go to the grocery store and I can get things from the top shelf for someone who's shorter, they see it as a strength. Okay, they can see that in the moment, my tall height being a strength, whereas I can see their being shorter as a strength in other ways. So everything has a balance to it. And when you think win-win and you look at the people around you and you look at their strengths instead of their weaknesses, then you automatically see something that will help you, and you can win and they can win as well. So today I've provided an example. Okay. What's in red is what I wrote on. If I can move it up a little bit. What's in red is what I wrote to add to my story. This is my example. So I don't want you to just copy off my example. That's not what this is. Okay. But it's going to ask you, the habit I would like to write a story and teach about is. So I said I'm going to start writing a story where the main character learns to begin with the end in mind. So this is not about the mouse. This is my example. You're going to have to fill out your own story idea organizer this week. And then Ms. Mullins is going to give you feedback on that organizer. Because if we don't have a good starting point and we don't make a good plan for our story, we're not going to have a high quality. Remember, we're going to have a really high quality story to put out, because our kindergartners and first graders are going to read these stories. We're going to share them with the school, not only for literacy, but also to teach them the 7 habits. So there's 2 things I need to be focused on, okay? One of them is my habit that I'm writing about. The other one is, the main storyline idea. So it says, so you also circle the habit you're teaching and you write about it here, okay? And then my idea for the story is, you're going to write your idea over here. And it tells you can model your story after a well-known fable like The Tortoise and the Hare, if you would like. A lot of boys and girls like to do that. We call it an inspired story, and we would give credit to the original writers, but you're going to make it your own. Okay, this is a great way to start the year, start a great story without having to build it from scratch and get kind of lost in the middle. This is just an idea. Think about how characters and the main about the characters and the main problem in the story. You are not writing the story here, just giving me an idea of what you might write about. Some boys and girls do this and they go, oh, I wrote my story. This is not enough to have a story, okay? Your story is going to be more complex. You're going to have illustrations. You're going to have, we're going to make them really good, okay? This is just the bare bones, okay? So I wrote, my idea of this for the story is to model my story. My main character is Sam the Beetle. Doesn't want to do his work. His problem is that he doesn't get his work done. If he doesn't get his work done, he will not be ready for winter. Sam just wants to play, but when the weather starts to change, Larry the Worm shows him that he needs to begin with the end in mind and make a plan. So I put my main characters in. You probably don't want any more than 2 characters. Like, it's way hard to keep up with more than that in your story. Okay. 2, maybe 3 characters. I'm not probably going to let you have more than that. You don't want to have 13 characters. Okay. It's supposed to say to model my story after. I have no idea where this went. After the grasshopper. The story of the grasshopper and the ant. This is a famous fable. Okay. And then it should say period. I don't know what happened here. Who knows? It's hard to keep up with everything. Okay. So my main so I'm modeling my story off the grasshopper and the ant. Okay. And those are just some examples. I know they gave you some examples on your vocabulary, so you might want to look back on vocabulary. You might want to look through Epic at fables. I've also included fables and folktales in your literacy footprints for the week. So if you haven't gone to Clever and looked at your literacy footprints book, you can go up here to the JCPS quick links and go to Clever. If you do not have quick links at the top of your page, you can go to the JCPS website under Students, Logins, and you can get to Clever from there, okay? So again, when you're looking at your weekly plans, you just watch Miss Mullins' video. Now, all you have to do is go down and complete your story organizer for the day, okay? Make sure that you finished your word work choice board today, that you finished your vocabulary fables assignment and taken the quiz, okay? And that you finished the other assignments this week. I'll be, later on, I'm going to try to go through and work on who hasn't finished what. I'll be sending those out for you. And that'll mean you still have time to get those completed. Have a great day.